everyone, I'm Nadira and welcome back to Explore with NTV. I hope that you're all very well and safe and you enjoy the rest of the show. So, Tusby is going to be mentioning what the topic is about.
Hello friends, I'm Tusby and like Nadira said, I'm going to be explaining what the topic is about. The topic is called Inspirational People and we're going to be talking about famous people who inspire us.
Yeah, but before we get on to famous people that inspire us, I would just like to say that you don't need to be a famous, historical or a celebrity to be able to inspire others, right, Tusby?
Yeah, you can just be inspirational to your family and friends.
Yeah, if anything, if you're a good person and you're kind and caring, then your family and friends will appreciate that and think of you as an inspiring individual. So before we get on to what us two think about inspirational people, let's say hi to Flora. Hi.
Hi Nadira. Hi Tusby. Hi everyone.
How are you, Flora?
I'm great.
So Flora, what types of traits do you admire in people?
I admire kind and honest people and who take care of you.
Me too.
Animals.
What about you, Tusby? Do you have any questions?
Who are the famous people you look up to? I look up to you and Coco the gorilla.
Oh, who's Coco the gorilla?
Coco the gorilla is a gorilla who knows American Sign Languages.
Wow, that's really cool.
Is that why you like her? Yes. And why do you like us? Because you give educational fun, which is very important.
Yeah. So, thanks so much, Flora, for sharing all of your inspirational people with us.
You're welcome, Nadira. I'm so happy to be here.
Bye, Flora.
Bye.
So, Tusby, who inspires you?
My family inspires me very much.
So, what about them inspires you?
They inspire me because my mum got the honorary of London.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of her, and that inspires me because I also want to get it.
Oh, yeah. So obviously the achievements of people around you could very much inspire you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really inspiring. What about you, Nadira?
I feel like my family and friends also really inspire me. I think that they've always been so supportive and caring, and that is good qualities that I really admire.
Oh, that's very sweet. Why do you think? Why?
Oh, okay, so...
can you give me examples?
Yeah, sure. So I think that especially when it comes to education, my parents have inspired me. They've always loved learning. My mum always loved learning English, and she's also learning sign language. And my dad has always loved space and history, and he's always been very inspirational, talking to me about lots of educational things.
How can we help the people around us?
I think the best way to help people around you is to be kind to them and to listen to them if they have any problems, and just be very emotionally supportive of everyone that you know.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
I think you can help people by giving charity to hospitals.
Oh yeah, that's also true. You can support a local charity or volunteer. That's a really good way to help people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also helping people do learning, and you can give it to school.
Yeah, I remember through my school actually, I volunteered and I helped younger kids learn how to read better. So they were international students and they came to England not knowing as much English, and so I helped them in the library every week.
Wow, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Tusby, how has your family supported you? You said that they inspire you.
Yeah, they inspire me, and I said because my mom got the degree.
Yeah.
And they also helped me on my first day of school. I was very scared to go into school.
Oh, did they help you and support you and reassure you?
I didn't want to go to school, so I pretended that I was ill so I didn't have to go to school.
I think everyone's done that at least once in their life.
Did you do it?
I definitely did. I remember when I first went to school, I was so scared that my mum had to stay with me on the first day. I think this was when I was very young. So
yeah.
but I think that's a great thing about families.
My
They always support
parents wanted me to go, but my grandparents didn't want me to
really?
go because I was crying.
you. Oh no. But that's the thing. Your loved ones will always support you, and that's why they're inspiring.
Yeah.
So, since we know a lot about our lives and who inspires us within our lives, do you have any inspirational figures that are famous?
Yes, someone from my religion called
Oh.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's done lots of great things.
Yeah.
He helps people. He takes care of their things. And if it's their treasure to them, then he makes it that he's their treasure to him. And he's very honest and caring.
Yeah, and he's obviously the prophet that introduced Islam to the world.
Yeah, and got the Quran.
Yeah, and now today, hundreds of years later after he was born, so many Muslims are in the world, and they all look up to.
And
all look up to him.
they're one of the biggest religions in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did lots of great things with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help, which is our God. And
What types of things did he do?
like split the moon in half to prove to his people that he was a prophet. And when he was a child, an angel came to him and cleaned his soul and his heart, get all the bad deeds that he'd do away. So he wouldn't do any bad deeds. And in a cave, the prophet went to a cave called Cave Hira in a mountain.
Yeah.
And the angel came and said Ikra, which means read, and hugged him. And then a lot of times, and then he learned how to read because he didn't know how to read then.
Oh, that's a really interesting story.
What about you, Nadira?
I would say someone that inspires me is probably someone like Rosa Parks. Have you heard of her?
No, who's she? Well, I do know her. She's very not well known, but I want you to explain.
Yeah, sure. So Rosa Parks was an American woman. She was a black woman, and she lived in a time where black and white people were segregated in public spaces.
And one time, she went on a bus.
Yeah.
And the white people and the black people were separated. The black people had to go at the back and the white people had to come at the front.
Yeah, and so if their bus was too full and there were black people sitting down, they would have to give up their seats for the white person.
Stand up.
Yeah.
And Rosa Parks didn't want that. She didn't stand up for that.
Yeah, that's unfair. It's discriminatory. And so she decided.
And it was part of the law.
Yeah, and
You
that was
had to
horrible.
get arrested for it.
Yeah, so she decided not to give up her seat because she was very adamant that that's wrong, and she also has equal rights as any other person would. So because of the fact that she refused, the police came and got arrested.
Jail.
Yeah, she got arrested. Eventually, after a year, things started to improve, and there was lots of protests because of her story, and because of that, there was a lot more equal opportunities and treatment of black and white people at the time.
Do you have any other people who inspire you?
Yeah, another very similar example is Nelson Mandela. So he obviously lived in South Africa, and he knew and saw the tensions between the black and white communities that lived there. And so he tried to be a very peaceful protester and tried to make different changes to bridge the gap between those types of communities. But because even with his peaceful protests, he did eventually get arrested as well.
For a lot of years.
Yeah, it was actually a life sentence. So he was in prison for 25 years.
I know, that's very long.
Yeah.
And when he was let go, he became the president of Africa.
Yeah, or South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa, to be precise.
Yeah, but he actually also won the Nobel Peace Prize. So that's obviously a very amazing achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be very proud, like my mom going.
Yeah, exactly. It's very an amazing award. And so those are two examples of activists who try to change the world. So just like how you said,
to help black people.
Yeah, so this one, Nelson Mandela was in South Africa Rosa Parks was in America, and obviously Prophet Muhammad was from Saudi Arabia. So you see there's so many different types of inspirational figures from all over the world.
Yeah, it's very important to know them all. So maybe you can do something like them.
Yeah.
To help the world.
Yeah, exactly. So another inspirational person from around the world is Stephen Hawking. So we're in Britain, and he was actually British as well. He went to university and was amazing. He was such an amazing student. He unfortunately also became disabled whilst he was at university.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, he was actually meant to die 2 years after he was diagnosed with his disabilities on a wheelchair. Have you ever seen pictures of him? He has the computer next to him.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah, he did recently pass away, unfortunately, but he made a huge impact to the scientific community, for instance. So he's from Britain, and then we also have things like philosophers. So
yeah,
do you know any famous philosophers?
No, who are they?
So there's some called, like, for instance, Aristotle or Socrates. They are famous philosophers in Greece, but there's also another famous philosopher called Confucius, and he was a famous philosopher from China.
Yeah.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah, Confucius.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny. His name reminds me of the word confusion. That's how I remember his name.
And that confusion is part of science.
Yeah, but he did so much work around philosophy, and he changed a lot about the structure of China, and he made so much political and social differences in China because of his philosophy. But like how you said with Prophet Muhammad, he's obviously a religious inspirational figure.
Yeah. Because of my religion, I get inspired by him, but also because he really inspires me very much.
Yeah, and just like how he inspires you because he's from your religion, there's so many different prophets and so many different religious figures from different religions and within Islam as well. So many different people you can look up to and get inspired by.
Yeah. Like I said, if you can get inspired, you can do something like them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really important regardless of who you get inspired by, everyone has their own difference and tastes.
You don't have to be so inspiring to be inspiring.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to people don't have to be inspired by it. Well, they do, but your family and your friends can do that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who, it just matters if people can.
So regardless of who actually inspires you, whether that's a famous scientist or philosopher or religious figure, if you have someone that inspires you, then that's amazing, and that you should really try and do as much as you can to act like them and to be a great person.
Very nice. I think I want to cry right now.
Oh, why?
Because it's so nice.
Oh, obviously you get inspired a lot by your family, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Bye everyone, we're going to go to our break right now. See you after the break. Bye. Bye. Hello friends, welcome back after the break. Nadira, now it's our book reading section.
Yeah.
So, what book do you want to read?
I would like to talk about this. So this actually isn't a book, it's a film. It's called Gandhi, His Triumphs Changed the World Forever. And this film is a biography of his life. And so since it's a film, I'll just be explaining what his life was and how he made an impact. So Gandhi is an Indian person, and he went to the UCL to study law. And after studying law, he then became a barrister. And he was a really, really successful barrister, and he once got a job in South Africa. So he went from Britain all the way to South Africa by ship, And then one day, in order to get to work, he had a first-class train ticket. And he obviously thought, if I have such a successful job, I'm here to go to my work, and I should surely be able to go to a train without a problem, first class. But actually, people there decided to throw him off the whole train. Yeah, and even though he had a first class ticket, he paid for such a beautiful train journey, and still they decided to treat him badly and throw him off the train.
Why would they do that? Isn't that kind of like a trick?
Yeah, well, it's racism, and he obviously knew that if he is such a powerful person, he's well educated, and he still gets treated like that. Gandhi then thought to himself, well, how do people in India get treated if they treat me like this, right?
Yeah.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then he went back to India, and actually he took off all of his suits. He was very professional. He had lots of suits. He decided, I don't want to wear suits anymore. I want to be going back to the basics, and wore like sandals and the very basic clothing to cover up his body, and decided that, you know what, I'm going to abandon what I used to act like, and now support the Indian community and make sure that they are treated fairly and have rights.
That is so nice and so
Yeah,
fun.
one of the biggest things that he did that made him very famous was doing a salt march. So at the time when he was alive, the British owned or was an empire of India, and so they were a colony, and that meant that the British were in charge of them. So as a result, the British actually decided to tax salt in their country, and Gandhi thought that that was really unfair, because then it would mean that the Indian people would have to pay a lot more. So he decided to march all the way to the bottom of India from where he lived, and that was actually a 3-week journey.
Wow!
Yeah, it's
he
incredible.
really looked after India.
Yeah, so he marched for 3 weeks in a row and used that as a way, as a peaceful way, to actually support the Indian community. And as a result of that, he became extremely famous for being a very peaceful activist. So that is the story of Gandhi and his life. So Tasbi, what do you think about Gandhi then?
Gandhi, he really loves India.
Yeah.
He really takes care of India, and it's nice that he wants to live a normal life, and doesn't want to live all the luxury, but he doesn't really get much luxury.
And that's because of the discrimination. So discrimination is like unfairness that he was obviously faced with. So Tasbi, what about you? What book would you like to read?
I'd like to read this book.
Oh, what's that called?
It's called Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls.
Oh.
There's a small thing. To all the rebel girls of the world, dream bigger, aim higher, fight higher, and when in doubt, remember, you are right. Okay, I'm going to read Ada Lovelace.
Ooh.
And she was a mathematician. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Ada who loved machines. She also loved the idea of flying. She studied birds to work out the perfect balance between wing size and body weight. She tested out materials and tried out several designs. She never managed to soar like a bird, but she created a beautiful book of drawings called Flyology, where she recorded all of her findings. One night, Ada went to a ball. There she met a grumpy old mathematician named Charles Babbage. Ada was a brilliant mathematician herself, and the two soon became good friends. Charles invited Ada to see a mathematician, a machine he created. He had invented it. He called it the difference engine. It could be automatically add and subtract numbers. No one had ever done that before. Ada was hooked. What if we built a machine that could make more complicated calculations, she said. Excited, Ada and Charles started working. The machine was huge and it required an enormous steam engine. Ada wanted to go further. What if this machine could play music and show letters as well as numbers? She was describing a computer, way before modern computers were invented. Ada wrote the first computing program in history.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to read another one, and that's Florence Nightingale. Oh, let me just find it.
Ada Lovelace sounds like a very inspirational person for her time.
Yeah, what do you think? How inspirational is she?
I think she's really inspirational. I feel like, especially within the science field.
What does she inspire?
I think that she inspired a lot of extra research and stuff within the scientific community.
Okay, now I'm going to read Mary Anning. She was a paleontologist. In a tiny cramped house on the south coast of England, there lived a girl called Mary. Her house was so close to the sea that sometimes the storms would flood it. The winds and storms that swept along the coast often revealed fossils in the cliffs along the shoreline. These are the remains of prehistoric plants or animals that died a long time ago. Mary could not go to school because her family was too poor, but she taught herself to read and write. She studied geology to learn more about rocks and anatomy, to learn more about the skeletons of prehistoric animals she found. One day, she saw a strange shape jutting out of a rock. Mary took out her special little hammer and carefully chipped away at the rock. Bit by bit, she uncovered a 30-foot long skeleton.
Ooh.
It had a long beak, but it wasn't a bird. Rows of sharp teeth, but it wasn't a shark. Flippers, but it wasn't a fish. And a long, thin tail. It was the first ever discovery of that kind of dinosaur fossil. And she named it the Ichthyosaurus.
Dinosaur names are always hard to pronounce.
Meaning fish lizard.
Ooh.
Dinosaurs mean lizard, actually.
Yeah.
At the time, people believed that the Earth was only a few thousand years old. Mary's fossils helped prove that there had been life on our planet for hundreds of millions of years. Scientists from all over the world came to see Mary, the self-taught scientist who loved walking by the sea.
Ooh.
There's a story about Mary Anning that when she was a baby, 3 women look after her, and there was a lightning storm, and they all got hit by lightning, but
wow.
Mary survived.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think Mary Anning is really inspirational because she obviously self-taught herself how to read and write, you know? And then eventually ended up making such a huge discovery, finding the first ever dinosaur fossil.
Wow, I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read one more person.
Go on.
Florence Nightingale.
Ooh.
She was a nurse. Once upon a time, a baby was born to an English couple traveling in Italy. They decided to name their daughter after the beautiful city where she was born, so they called her Florence.
Ooh.
Florence loved traveling. She loved math and science, and she loved collecting information. Whenever she traveled to a new place, she would note down how many people lived there, how many hospitals there were, and how big the city was. She loved numbers. Florence studied nursing and became so good at it that the government sent her to manage a hospital for injured soldiers in Turkey. There was a war there. As soon as she arrived, Florence started collecting and examining all the data she could find. She discovered that most of the soldiers died not to be because of their wounds, but because of the infections and diseases contracted in the hospital. Then, in the hospitals that time, when Florence was around, the hospitals weren't like what we have in the modern day. In fact, the hospitals made the people in the patients even more sick.
Really? Goodness.
Yeah. The very first requirement in a hospital is that it should do the sick no harm, she said. She made sure that everyone working there washed their hands frequently and keep everything clean. That's what you should do in coronavirus.
Yeah, that's true.
At night, she carried a lamp as she made her rounds, talking to the patients and giving them hope. Thanks to her, many more soldiers made it home safely, and she became known as the Lady with the Lamp.
Ooh, that's really inspiring.
Inside there it says she was called the Lady of the Lamp because she went around in the night with a lamp talking to soldiers and making them comfortable.
Oh, so she did a lot of things, not just being a nurse and,
there were
helped out lots
multiple things.
Yeah. But I think what she did was very inspirational. She basically revolutionized the practices that you have at hospitals today.
Yeah, she gave lots of information to help hospitals and make them what our hospitals are today.
Yeah.
Mary Anning, at my old school, there was a Mary Anning actress who came.
Oh, really?
And they were like washing hands, and there's a trick that you can do. So you put soap on your hands, then you put your nails on your hand to get the soap inside your nails so they clean your nails.
Yeah, that's doing it very thoroughly.
Yeah, so that's what I do during coronavirus every time I come from outside.
Yeah, that's great. I think, I don't know, I just really, really love this book that you bought. I think it's always very inspirational to see some of the women that have also done things.
It's all about women doing great things.
Yeah.
Which is rebel. Which makes them rebel girls.
Yeah.
Or rebel women.
And that's the thing, throughout history, often we look at some of the famous men that have achieved a lot in the world, but in actuality, sometimes we need to focus on what amazing things women have done.
Because in the olden days, they thought women weren't so powerful and great, and in that time, women couldn't even go to school.
Yeah, they face so many barriers, cultural and socially. They face so many different things, and there's actually lots of women that have achieved a lot, and we should celebrate them.
Yeah, I think that's what this book is all about.
Yeah.
And inside there, you can write your own story.
Honestly, that's amazing. I love that you have this book.
Thank you. There's lots of different girls with different statements. Should I read some statements? Just like one statement.
How about, just one.
I'm just gonna open a book. How about Mathilde Montoya? I am a doctor.
Oh, that's really nice, Tasbih. Actually,
Margaret Thatcher. You may have to fight a battle more than once to win.
Thanks so much, Tasbih, for that. Now that we've read quite a few quotes, it's time for the break.
Bye. See you after the break.
everyone, and welcome back from the break. So today's segment is going to be with Charlotte. So, hi Charlotte.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So, where are you calling us from, Charlotte?
I'm actually calling you from my home, so...
Oh, where do you live?
I live in East London, so...
Okay. What did you do during the snow time? When there was snow?
Oh, I acted like a 5-year-old and went out with my sister and just played around.
Oh, I really enjoyed the snow day as well, Tusby.
And what did you do?
I made a snowman. So, Charlotte, what else have you done today? Did you do anything interesting?
Mostly just university coursework. That's just keeping me occupied.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite hobbies?
So I have a few favourite hobbies. Those include music, because I'm a singer-songwriter, so I do that on the side. I also like photography as well, and I do like drawing and poetry as well.
Oh,
wow, so nice.
so Charlotte, if you had to describe your family, how would you describe them?
I would describe them as supportive and very welcoming.
Oh, okay. How have you been feeling during lockdown?
I think like everyone else, it's been an up and down roller coaster, especially because we've had so many lockdowns.
Yeah.
But music has mainly been the thing keeping me going.
Oh, okay.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Now we would like to interview you a little bit about the topic, so famous figures and inspirational people. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So, Charlotte, why do you think it's important to have a role model?
I think it's important to have a role model because if you don't have one, then you don't have anyone else to look up to and get advice from. Even if you don't know the role model, if it's a celebrity or not, you still can. You're still able to get advice and learn from their mistakes or learn from what they've done.
Yeah.
Who are the most inspired you in your personal life?
I would say my mum. Yeah.
Okay.
So, what has she done to motivate you to try and persevere and succeed?
Well, she's always been supportive in the sense that she's never discouraged me if I've been going through something difficult. Like if I had exams or something, for example, she'd wake up the same time as me so that she could wish me good luck before I go, which I find is a good boost.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite famous figures?
So my favourite famous figure is probably Demi Lovato. She's a musician / actress. Yeah, she's my favourite.
So, what makes her your favourite? Has she done anything inspirational?
I personally like her as my favourite because she's gone through so much in terms of her personal growth and her journey, and through her music she highlights that, but she's so vulnerable and it's just so good to see like a celebrity acting like a normal human and opening up rather than showing only the good stuff.
Yeah, I think sometimes we often associate celebrities to be perfect, but actually if a celebrity, for instance, like Demi Lovato...
Yeah, they're kind of like us. They started off like us and then became in a higher level.
Yeah, so sometimes hearing their personal stories is actually really inspiring. I agree.
What is your favourite quote?
So my favourite quote is actually from Demi Lovato, and it says, "You were born to be real, not perfect," which illustrates what you both said about how we're all human, we all make mistakes, good and bad, so it's not a flaw to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Even if you are a very inspirational person, you still obviously have struggles, right?
Yeah.
So that's it for the interview. I hope you were very informed by that. And now it's time for the quiz. Yeah, so Charlotte will be quizzing you on famous figures and inspirational people through a multiple choice question. So I'll start. Who said the following famous quote? "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid." Number 1, Albert Einstein. Number 2, Stephen Hawking. And number 3, Isaac Newton.
I think Albert Einstein.
Yeah, that's right. And actually this quote, it's quite a long quote, but it does highlight how that everybody has their own talent, and you know, if
they're different.
Yeah,
from different
and
people.
being different is okay if you succeed at what you are good at.
Which famous female celebrity gave a Power UN speech about women rights? Option 1, Natalie Portman. Option 2, Emma Watson. Option 3, Julia Roberts.
I think it was Emma Watson.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. And actually all 3 of those options were famous actresses. Yeah. So the next question is, what year did Martin Luther King Jr. present his famous speech, I Have a Dream? In 1952, in 1963, or in 1977?
I think it's 1963.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. One way for the audience to remember that is that his speech was during the Civil Rights Movement, and that lasted between 1954 to 1968.
Which of the following subjects cannot get a Nobel Prize? Option 1, literature. Option 2, physics. Option 3, maths.
Literature.
It's
Ooh.
maths.
Yeah, that's wrong. There are quite a few people that have gained a Nobel Prize in literature, but maths is actually the one that you can't get a Nobel Prize for. Yeah, but alternatively, you can get a Nobel Prize for economics, and a lot of mathematicians have. Like, for instance, the very famous mathematician John Nash, he got a Nobel Prize in economics. So the next question is, what is the movie about Stephen Hawking's biography called? 1, Time Unfolds Everything. 2, The Story of Time. Or 3, The Theory of Everything.
The Theory of Everything, because I have the film.
Really? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've watched the film too. I found it really inspiring.
Which of the following people are famous and inspiring Greek philosophers? Option 1, Aristotle.
Aristotle? Yeah?
Option 2, Confucius.
Confucius.
Option 2, Saint Thomas
Aquinas.
I think it was the last option.
Ooh,
No.
yeah, that's wrong. It's actually Aristotle. And similar to what we were talking about in the first segment, Confucius is a Chinese philosopher, and Saint Thomas Aquinas is an Italian philosopher. So out of those 3, it would, by process of elimination, be Aristotle. So that is all that we have for the quiz. You did fairly well, I'd say. I think you got 4
Thank you.
out of 6.
4 out of 6, yeah.
That's great, yeah. So
And they were quite hard questions.
yeah, I think a lot of the questions had to do with people's names and dates, which
And you got
get muddled
most
up
of them
by.
right.
Yeah, so great job, Charlotte. Charlotte, do you have any other inspirational figures other than Demi Lovato?
I actually have quite a lot. I have one of them recently became Taylor Swift, purely based on music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So actually, I feel like a lot of your famous celebrities and inspirational people are musicians or artists.
That proves that you really like music a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to anything else. I do watch films, but if I had a choice between films or music, I would rather go with music.
Oh. I don't know who my famous celebrity is that I really like in terms of music. Do you have a famous artist?
I'm not sure, but I think maybe Michael Jackson.
Yeah, actually, my parents love Michael Jackson. What about your family, Charlotte? Do they enjoy Michael Jackson?
Yeah, my family are into 70s and 80s music, so anything in that they love.
I remember my parents, especially just before Michael Jackson's death, they would always listen to all of his famous music.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
Actually, I remember Michael Jackson, one of his famous songs, I think one of the budget for his music video was over like 60 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so he obviously had a huge impact on the music industry. All of his music was very, very successful.
Yeah, and popular.
Yeah, very popular.
I actually think Taylor Swift has won awards as many as Michael Jackson, or she's exceeded limit.
Really?
I can't remember what specific award, but I think it's maybe Grammys. But she's got like surpassed his limit.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. Out of all of your inspirations, which one is the most favorite one that you think?
Oh, mine was always Demi Lovato. I've loved her ever since she did Camp Rock. That was like my start. Yeah, since then I've been obsessed, kind of.
So, other than music, do you have any other perhaps famous actresses that you enjoy? Obviously, I know that you like music and film.
I do have a few. My mind's just gone a bit blank, but I can name some films that I like, because I do like. I like the Hunger Games series.
Oh.
I do like The Theory of Everything as well, because I find that really emotional.
Yeah.
I like it as well. Any musical, I would love.
It's actually interesting that you brought up that you've watched The Theory of Everything, because there's so many films about inspirational people.
Yeah.
Just like, for instance, we were talking about the biography of Gandhi. That was obviously a film, right?
Yeah.
What other films are there about inspirational people? I think there was one about Martin Luther King.
And there's also films about Queen Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, the royal family. There's so many films about the royal family. And documentaries as well.
Yeah. Sometimes I watch them with my family.
Yeah. What about you, Charlotte? Have you ever watched a film about the royal family?
Yeah, it's not a film, but it's a documentary series recently that I think it came out in 2016, and they're still filming. It's called The Crown, and it goes through the whole royal family, from the current Queen's dad, and then when he dies, and then how she copes. It's really interesting, actually, because I didn't really know much about the royal family until I watched that, and you actually have a lot of sympathy for the current Queen, because she's actually been through like so much.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have films and media to show us exactly what these people have lived through and how they overcame their struggles.
Yeah. It's if you know how to do that, and maybe you get struggled up in that too. Maybe if you know that what they struggled through and how they got out of it, that would be good. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just think it's really important to know how to deal with struggles, and one way to know how to do that is to actually watch it on TV or to talk about it with your friends, other inspirational people.
Research it.
So that is actually all that we have for the show. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for sharing some of your famous figures and inspirational people that you really enjoy and look up to. So thank you so much, Charlotte, and for the audience, we'll see you hopefully for the next episode. So bye!